Welcome to season 2 of Self-Care-ish. It's selfish with care. I'm Megan, your host, and each week I spend about 20 minutes to an hour unpacking different ways to fill your cup after a divorce, or if you're on a dating or self-dating journey. Either way, enjoy and let's get into it. So I'm currently recording this from a cabin in the woods. Or this is Australia, so it's a cabin in the bush, complete with log fire outside. Oh, the wind is howling the cabin. Oh, can you hear that? Can you hear the birds and the wind? Anyway, so there's a log fire outside. I had a beautiful sunset vista in the distance last night, and you can hear silence. Like there's no noise whatsoever. It's just that clear, echoey silence that just feels like it's giving my ears their very own holiday. And I'm alone. I'm just here with my fluffy little ragdoll cat next to me. It's glorious. This is an unyoked.co cabin. So it's an architecturally designed tiny home. So it's got all the luxury bells and whistles inside, like premium linen sheets that I'm sitting on right now. Beautiful rainwater shower heads in the bathroom, or just one. You only need one. There's all the cooking utensils, everything, coffee, tea. They even fill the bar fridge with, cool beers and spirits before you get here. I actually did one of these a few months ago with my son, just a mother-son camping break while he was on school holidays, just for one night. And he absolutely adored it. And I'm not overstating it when I say it was wholesome as fuck. We had some horses that also lived on the land with the cabin. So they just gave everything this incredible storybook charm. It was so beautiful. And before I came up here last time, I bought all this firewood and I had it all left over because I only used like 3 or 4 logs at a go. So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to jump on their site, find a cabin that's pet friendly, and I booked myself and Katniss a little midweek overnight getaway just out of the blue because I had, you know what? Firewood is a pyramid scheme. You just have to keep investing to use it up because where else are you going to use firewood? Anyway, I had a guy troll me on Instagram the other day by saying that I'll end up alone with just my cat. And here I am. I am here alone in the wilderness in a cabin with just my cat. And it is amazing. So I'm sitting here. There are birds chirping. There's a wind blowing. And I have treated myself to a brilliant bottle of red wine. And I just finished a brioche smash burger that I just cooked over an open fire. And I've been trying to put into words what this feeling is. And what is the exact reason I've become so addicted to the unyoked cabin experience? And I think what it is that these kinds of getaways invoke a sense of pure autonomy. But not pure autonomy because it is still very luxe, but autonomy nonetheless. And it reminded me of when I was first divorced, or I was looking to get divorced. And I would say to my ex, look, I just want to feel autonomous again. Like to feel the freedom and adventure of the unknown. And I say that as a person who truly does appreciate routine and security. And I also really appreciate my ex. Like he's a good human, pretty much. But every now and then, you just need to be alone. Or away from the rush of the city with just someone you care about. And maybe that someone you care about is your dog or your cat. And that's okay. It might even be better than okay. So I also reached out to the team at Unyoked. And I want you guys to experience what I have just experienced. So I've organized for you guys to get a discount on your next cabin booking. All you need to do, because it's just a little trade-off here, is head to selfcare-ish.com.au and just scroll down and subscribe to the newsletter. Each month, you'll not only receive this discount code, but also other codes for exceptional wellness, beauty, any brands that I use and stand by. So if you need to get away, just you, your cat, or you and your dog, or you and your lover, get the Self-Care-ish Society newsletter. Get your discount code for your unyoked cabin and get off the grid. I'm telling you, it's amazing. All right, I'm going to take a sip of wine and jump into today's episode. All about a particular thing that happens when you start dating again over 30. And I'm just going to call it being dating history discriminatory. All right, sit down. What I mean by this is this. Think back to your early 20s or when you were first seriously dating. Things were annoying. You know, we still had to navigate the pitfalls of one-night stands, situationships, texting, social media, etc. But things were also pretty simple. It's likely that you and the people you dated had one thing in common. You'd all never been married before, or lived with anyone before, or had kids before. You were just you. Probably a more neurotic you because you had to contend with building a career and navigating your flatmate situation. But when it came to your relationships, you were still pretty fresh and optimistic and unburdened, materially. Then you partnered up, or you might have gotten married, or you might have had kids, or you might not, and have just had an endless slew of serial monogamous relationships while you focused on world domination. There's nothing better or worse about any of these things. Each comes with its own perks and pitfalls. Cut to your mid to late 30s. And if you find yourself back in the dating pool, your dating options weirdly get categorized into two types of people. Those who've been married and had kids and co-parent, and those who haven't. And for the purposes of this episode, I'm going to make some very, very vast generalizations, but please don't come for me. I am very self-aware that I am doing this, so I apologize in advance. It's a means to an end. But I had a conversation with someone recently over the trope of the newly single divorced woman who gets into a situationship with an unavailable man right after her breakup. And I say this from experience. More often than not, it just looks like a guy who's never been married, never had kids. And just a caveat here, I know not having kids can come down to a lot of physical reasons too. So I'm just going to say that kids thing once and then leave that off the table because I feel like that's pretty discriminatory, but which is actually building to my point. So stick with me here. But essentially, someone who jumps from one shortish term relationship to another. Anyway, this girl, she falls in love, everything gets too close, and it inevitably ends. Basically, she's dating someone whose dating history indicates that they're an avoidant person. Anyway, this is apparently a thing. Every woman who comes out of a divorce does this. They dive into something that almost kind of looks like a relationship, but never quite reaches a deep kind of intimacy. And she usually gets her heart broken. I don't make the rules, guys. This is just what happens, apparently. And the person I was talking to said to me, I think the reason people get drawn to avoidant kind of people after a serious relationship is because deep down, they don't want a serious relationship either. And subconsciously, it manifests in going for these types of people. And then this conversation made me feel almost bad for that avoidant category of people because they're getting used by the subconsciously avoidant people. Something to think about, but I'm going to park that there for a second. How many times can I say the word people today? Anyway, then there's another category of people out in the dating pool. Those like me, I guess. Those who are divorced or coming out of a long-term relationship and maybe have kids and co-parent. And I feel for these people. One, because I know their situations pretty intimately and understand some of the challenges that go along with being divorced and dating again. But two, these people are also kind of avoidant as well because they've been through the emotional ringer, and the idea of jumping into another serious relationship after just leaving all the stresses behind of the last one seems horrendous. I guess for the purposes of this pod, we're just going to call this category the attached avoidance. Those who have a dating history that indicates that they know how to connect in a deep way, but they've just been really burned. And if we take a step back, we realize, oh no, we have the same thing in common again. All of us are avoidant. Anyway, so we're all on the apps. The avoidance, the attached avoidance, the subconscious avoidance. Somewhere in the middle, there's the hopefully healthily attached people getting their hearts hurt in all this carnage. And what happens to you is you start to get a little discriminatory about people's dating history, thinking it will protect you. And I hate to be reductive. I know I'm doing that a lot this episode. But hey, I think you're lying to me if you don't do this either. Like I found for me personally, I've more often than not been drawn to guys who have never been married and who don't have kids. And I've been out there for over a year, and I've dated someone for a few months during that time. And I've also had a couple of short-term things. And more often than not, those are the people I end up dating, the ones who've never partnered up in a long-term way. Now, the weird thing is I connect better emotionally with the guys who've been married and had kids. But then there's part of me that's nervous to get into a relationship with those people, which is really weird because there's Dr. Fran Walfish, who's a Beverly Hills child and relationship psychologist, and she's also the author of The Self-Aware Parent. She said, it's better to date and partner up with a man who's divorced and single, because single men above the age of 40 generally have a fear of commitment and other unexamined and unresolved issues from their families of origin. I'm quoting her here, not my quote, her quote. Anyway, I know, lots and lots of generalizations getting thrown around on this episode. Maybe I'm scared to date divorced guys because there's this connotation that something serious might ensue. But then if you date people who've never been married, it's likely they might want more out of the relationship down the line because they want to experience that. So if I'm wrangling with this, then it's a safe bet to imagine that other people or you are wrangling with this too. But then I was like, specifically, I wonder if the guys I match with on Hinge are also dealing with this thought. Yes, people, it's another Interview Your Hinge Match episode, and after the break, we'll find out where some of the guys I've matched with recently stand on the dating a divorcee debate. Do guys, start that again. Do guys discriminate according to a woman's relationship history? And I feel like I can see your face right now when I say that. And you're nodding because we've all seen those clips of those guys who are like Andrew Tate saying that a woman who's slept with more than two people is a common harlot and used up. But for the purposes of this science experiment, I mean, do guys on Hinge get turned off in the same way a woman might get turned off of a guy who's never been in a serious relationship? And to kick things off, I'm going to start with Michael. It's not his real name, but definitely a super genuine kind of guy who hasn't been married but does have kids. Here's his take.
In answer to your question, and I'm talking about this of someone who has been engaged and someone who has kids, I think my own experiences give me a better understanding that everyone has been through their own unique journey in life, and I'm not going to ascribe judgment to whatever someone has been through. And so as to what I'm looking for, I don't mind whether someone has...
Sorry, we got cut off at the end. But yeah, you can hear it in his voice. He's being super pragmatic. And I'd put that down to him having, inverted commas, lived, so to speak, and having his own rich relationship history. But then I heard from, let's call him Troy. Troy, who's never been married, and here's his take.
That's an easy one. It's never an issue for me. Doesn't really matter for me if it's if the woman's been married or if she's older and hasn't been married. I think it's more about the quality of the person rather than anything else.
Again, super egalitarian. And my hypothesis, definitely proven wrong. And it also makes me think I need to match with some more douchey types of guys in order to get like the full spectrum of answers for you guys. But I also have a third response. And this is from Craig, not his real name, of course, who you'll recognize from previous Hinge Match interviews. And he's always fun for an opinion. And he's a dad, and he's just come out of a long-term relationship. So here's his take.
So for me personally, I don't have green or red flags one way or the other. off the bat, but here's what I will say. In my personal experience, women without children have more time and they're more available. They have the ability to be a bit more spontaneous. They're flexible. So like the logistics of dating is a lot easier with a single person. Now, the flip side of that, the negative side of that is that, me as a parent, I don't have that same luxury of time, flexibility, spontaneity as much. And sometimes those two positions can sort of butt heads. And sometimes, if I'm being honest, it can be difficult for a single person to understand the life of a parent. I'm not trying to be like condescending. Sometimes those two positions can sort of butt heads. And sometimes, if I'm being honest, it can be difficult for a single person to understand the life of a parent. I'm not trying to be like condescending or exclusionary, if that's the word, but I've gotten into situations before dating women without kids where they think I'm not being as intentional as I could be. And that's because the quality of my communication definitely goes down when I'm with my daughter. So yeah, I'm just not as good at reaching out and just being aware of what the person has going on or what they're doing and everything, because all my focus is going into my daughter. So, and that can bring up issues. So that's the negative side. But then the logistics of dating a woman with kids is it's ridiculous. It's impossible to find an evening that lines up, and then your parenting schedule and then just other life things that you have going on. I've got in a typical month, I probably have, 10 to 12 evenings available where I can hang out. And then it's just oh yeah, well, we missed our window. I'll see you. Let's aim for, 2.5 weeks from now. That would be nice. So yeah, the logistics of dating a single parent is really difficult.
I'm just going to jump here and say, 10 nights a month sounds pretty good to me, by the way. But anyway.
But on the flip side of that, there's no explanation needed. It's so nice. You feel totally seen and understood, right? So, I've dated women with kids before, and there have been times where I've gone a whole 2 weeks without talking to them. And just because of parenting, and then we just we reconnect, and it's oh yeah, we get it. We get it. It's just yeah, you don't even have to explain it. It's just so nice to be fully seen and understood.
Oh, Craig, he's so good for detailed takes. He actually messaged me a while ago and said, you know what? Can you ask me some more questions? I want to be on your pod again. So yeah, thank you, Craig. Inverted commas, not your real name. But anyway, to be honest, I don't know where I wanted to end with this. I guess I wanted the guys to give me, and you listening, perspective or understanding that we're all in the same boat. And I think we achieved that because we all have little things that we discriminate against, because it gives us this illusion of control over something so completely arbitrary as falling in love. It also made me think that maybe I'm being a little too close-minded. Maybe I need to expand my dating horizons. Or maybe I should just stay here in this cabin in the woods with my cat. Maybe I'll finish on that. What do you think? Leave me a voicemail with your own opinions at selfcare-ish or selfcareish.com.au. And please do subscribe while you're on the website so you can get your own unyoked cabin experience and be out here in the middle of nowhere and experience the wonder that is autonomy. And until next week, please stay self-care-ish.